This video is on angles. We'll start with the types of angles. There are four types of angles: acute, right, obtuse, and straight. An acute angle is an angle less than 90 degrees. They're small angles, 89 degrees or less. A right angle is exactly 90 degrees. This little square or angle between it tells you it is exactly a 90-degree angle. Angles larger than 90 degrees but less than 180 are obtuse angles. They're all larger than 90, less than 180. And straight angles is pretty easy. It's a straight line. A straight line is 180 degrees. All the way around a circle is 360 degrees, so halfway around a circle is 180 degrees. This would be a good time for you just in your mind. You don't have to write anything down, but just in your mind, think, what kind of angle is this? And the answer is, it is an acute angle. It is less than 90 degrees. Number two, think in your mind, what kind of angle is this? Acute, right, straight, or obtuse? That's a straight angle, 180 degrees. What kind of angle is this? This angle is more than 180 degrees, so it would be an obtuse angle. Number four. This is less than 90 degrees, so it is an acute angle. Identify the type of angle given the measure of the angle. So if it's 180 degrees, that makes it what? And the answer is straight. 180 degrees is a straight line or a straight angle. And if it's 80 degrees, which kind of angle is it? Angles less than 90 degrees are acute angles. An angle is always named either using one letter, like this angle could be called angle B, or three letters. It could be called angle ABC or CBA. An angle will never be named with two letters. It is also possible that the angle will be referred to by a number, like angle number 3. Now, this is not near as important as knowing the other ones we just went over, but let's talk about it real quick. So we could call this angle angle 3, like you see here. We can name it by the letter, angle B, like you see here, or we can name it with three letters, ABC or CBA. Angle ABC, and this one is written wrong. It's not the only thing that's written wrong in this software, but this should be angle CBA. The middle letter should be the angle, so the middle letter should be B. So that's wrong. That's nothing. But angle CBA is right, angle ABC is right, or just angle B, or just angle 3. Identify all of the appropriate names for this angle. So think about it. It told you it'll never be two letters. It'll either be the number, the letter, or the three letters with the angle letter Y in the middle. So the correct angle answers are Z, Y, X. That one's right. Angle 2 is right. Angle Y is right. This one is wrong. Again, the software made a mistake. So we had Z, Y, X. The other correct answer would be X, Y, Z. The middle letter, and it would be B. B should be right, not C. X, Y, Z is right. The middle letter has to be your angle there. There are two types of angles we need to know: complementary and supplementary. A complementary angle means their sum is 90 degrees. It means if you add the two angles together and get exactly 90 degrees, they are complementary angles. Supplementary angles are angles whose sum is 180 degrees. If you add two or more angles together and get exactly 180 degrees, Those are supplementary angles. Very important, you know, complementary is 90, supplementary is 180. That's going to be important for a lot of stuff we do in this unit. Complementary, 90 degrees, supplementary, 180. Here's a quick review of our angles. Types of angles are acute angles, less than 90 degrees, right angles, exactly 90 degrees. You'll see that little angle in there telling you it's a right angle. Obtuse angles, greater than 90 degrees, but less than 180. And straight angles, exactly 180 degrees. Here's some vocabulary we need to know. Vertical angles. Vertical angles are straight across from each other at an intersection. 1 and 2 are vertical angles. They're straight across from each other. 3 and 4 are vertical angles. They are straight across from each other. Vertical angles are congruent. Congruent means the same. So whatever angle 1 is, angle 2 is. Whatever angle 3 is, angle 4 is. If angle 2 is 110 degrees, then angle 1 is 110 degrees. If angle 4 is 70 degrees, then angle 3 is 70 degrees. Vertical angles are straight across from each other. Vertical angles are congruent, which means they are the same. Adjacent angles are angles beside each other. Adjacent just means beside. If you're sitting beside someone in class, you are adjacent to that person. Adjacent angles just means beside each other. So that is really not important for what we're doing here, but we went over it since it was in the book. Two very important vocabulary words are complementary angles. You need to know complementary angles means their sum is 90 degrees. Whatever 7 is plus whatever 8 is adds together to give me 90 degrees. And supplementary angles are angles whose sum is 180 degrees. If you add them together, you get 180 degrees. Vertical angles, straight across from each other. Vertical angles are congruent. They're the same. Complementary means you add them together and get 90 degrees. Supplementary, you add them together and get 180 degrees. And perpendicular lines are lines like line L and line M here that intersect and form exact right angles. Most important words on that page: vertical, straight across from each other, the same; complementary, 90 degrees; supplementary, 180 degrees. On the screen, you see right angle. Not only does it look like it's probably 90 degrees, but I know it positively is because it has this little angle here telling me it is exactly 90 degrees. If I took a right angle and I cut it into two pieces, and I knew what one of the angles was, I could find the other angle, because complementary angles are angles whose sum is 90 degrees. I know if I add this bottom angle and this top angle together, I'm going to get 90 degrees. So there are two ways to do it. The official way to do it is to say this angle, which we'll call X, plus this angle, which is 35 degrees, equals 90 degrees, because they are complementary. Subtract 35 from both sides, you get your answer of 55 degrees. But you don't have to write an equation every time you do one of these. You can just take your calculator and say, okay, the whole thing is 90, subtract this part of it, 35, and what's left over will be this part. So in your calculator or on your paper or in your head, you could just say 90 degrees minus 35 equals 55 degrees. 90 minus 35 in your calculator would be fine. You try number 1. This is a right angle. It says so. It's got an angle. This bottom angle is 50 degrees. The top angle is unknown. Find the measure of that angle. So I could say x plus 50 equals 90 and solve the equation, or I could say 90 degrees for the whole thing minus 50 equals what's left over, and the answer to number 1 is 40 degrees. 40 degrees. Try number 2. Number 2 has a straight line. We know straight lines are 180 degrees. one of the angles measures 50 degrees. You find this other measure here. So I could write an equation, x plus 50 equals 180, or I could just take my calculator and say 180 minus 50 equals, and what's left over goes right here, which is 130 degrees. Those angles are supplementary. They equal a straight line or 180 degrees. Try number 3. Number 3, form a straight line. So they are supplementary, which means if I add them together, I get 180. So I could say 105 plus x equals 180 and solve an equation, or I could just take 180 minus 105 equals, and what's left over would be my answer, and the answer to number 3 is 75 degrees. Number 1, those are complementary. The answer is 40. 90 minus 50 is 40. Number 2, supplementary angles are 180 degrees. 180 minus 50 equals 130. And on number 3, those are also supplementary angles. 180 minus 105 equals 75. Try number 1. Number 1, two angles which form a straight line makes them supplementary. So I could add 146 plus x together and get 180, or I could take my calculator and say 180 minus 146 to get my answer. They are supplementary angles, and 180 minus 146 is 34 degrees. The answer is 34 degrees. Try number 2. Number 2 are complementary angles. If you add them together, you get 90 degrees. So you could say x plus 62.9 equals 90, or more simply, just take your calculator and say 90 minus 62.9 equals, and your answer is 27.1 degrees. Those are complementary angles. Try number 3. Number 3, for some reason, are separated, but if I pushed them together, that would be a straight line. So these are supplementary angles. 180 minus 105 equals 75 degrees. Try number 10. Number 10 are vertical angles straight across from each other at an intersection. Vertical angles are congruent. Congruent means the same. So they are both 152 degrees. Vertical angles, 152 degrees. And I'll just show you the others real quick in the example. Here we have two angles which form a straight line. They're supplementary, so 180 minus 58.9 equals 121.1. Here we have two angles. When you add them together, you get 90 degrees. So that makes them complementary angles, and 90 minus 67.4 equals 22.6. Here we have two angles which are complementary. There's our right angle showing us this big angle is 90 degrees. So 1 plus 2 equals 90. Well, if 2 is 24, then 90 for the whole thing minus 24 equals what's left over is 66 degrees. Let's go through these practice problems really quick. You don't even have to write these down. Just think of in your head what the answer is. That angle is bigger than 90 and smaller than 180. That makes it obtuse. Number 2. That is smaller than 90 degrees, so that makes it acute. Number 3. Number 3 is exactly 90 degrees, so that makes it right. Number 4. Number 4 is smaller than 90 degrees, so that makes it acute. Number 5 is 67 degrees. 67 degrees is smaller than 90, so that makes it acute. Number 6. Number 6 is greater than 90, yet less than 180, so that makes it obtuse. Number 7. Okay, so this could be angle 1, It could be angle N. It could be angle MNP. And it could be angle PNM. And those are the only correct answers. I'm going to pick one that's wrong. And it shows you that one's not right. Angle A and B are complementary. So we need to know that means 90 degrees. If the measure of angle B is 37, calculate the measure of angle A. Well, the whole thing's complementary. It's 90 degrees. So I subtract the one I know, 37, from 90 in my calculator, and I would get 53. Yep. Practice problem number 9. Angles C and D are supplementary. That means 180 degrees. If angle C is 135, calculate the measure of angle D. 180 minus 135 is 45. K and L are supplementary. If one of them's 20, what's the other? 180 minus 20 equals 160. P and Q are complementary. That means 90 degrees. If Q is 81, what's P? 90 minus 81 equals 9 degrees. I want to go back to this page real fast and end on it. Very important, we know that vertical angles are angles straight across from each other. Vertical angles are congruent. Congruent means the same. Complementary angles means angles whose sum is 90 degrees. So if you know one, you subtract it from 90 to get the other one. And supplementary angles are angles whose sum is 180 degrees. So if you know one of them, subtract it from 180 and you can get the other. Thank you.